Well, quite a story this past week, and people really wearing their heart on their sleeves when it comes to something that's even bigger than amateur sports. Future Champions Sports Complex in Jacksonville before the Jameson family purchased it. It was the popular Lens Field. That was the initial facility, the all weather diamond over there. Kind of like the auxiliary airport that a pilot might turn to if he or she runs into trouble, runs out of fuel, and like we need an emergency landing spot. And a lot of games,
Mhm.
postseason games in peril, have turned to Jacksonville, and that tradition has only expanded with six incredible diamonds, a restaurant, a big dream, big ideas that were brought to fruition. And boy, Mother Nature hit hard with a tornado this past week, but boy, an inspiring comeback story in progress. We're talking to the owner operator, Kristen Jameson. And Kristen, thanks for joining us in a very trying week uh, for you and your family.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate it.
Well, it's unbelievable, and I think the damage is well known for. Out of the six diamonds, I guess took a pretty good hit, but the thing that struck me, dozens of pictures. Uh, you asked for a little bit of help, and you got a lot of help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We were really overwhelmed by the amount of support we received within 24 hours of that devastating tornado hitting our complex. Uh, you know, Obviously, tears, frustration, worry, all of those things were the immediate response. We did have two employees on site at the time working to get ready for this weekend, and the fact that they were safe from that tornado was, the biggest, what am I trying to say, silver lining from the story, because it could have been tragic. Thankfully, they had the wherewithal to get to an inner location in our restaurant and take cover. But wow, just to think that in our location, there's a nursing home to our south. The hospital is just to the northeast. Big factory, Nestle, is to the northwest. And while it was not a good outcome for our complex, the fact that tornado did not danger anyone, any of those hundreds of people in that area, is amazing to me.
Well, this was quite an effort, and the sometimes people they volunteer, they want to show moral support. That's not this crew. They got their hands dirty, and they didn't just come from
Oh my
Jacksonville. I
goodness.
saw the Cyclone football team out of Springfield. It was an impressive group.
Absolutely. We had a number of people reach out to us. We weren't even sure that we could entertain that idea of people just coming and rolling up their sleeves. Of course, we had to check with our insurance agency first. When they said that was okay, we said, okay, how about 1 o'clock? Whomever can be there, we'll see you. And we assume around 300 people is what somebody approximated. Just an amazing show of support from family, friends, coaches, umpires, athletes, parents. Even one of the local sports writers was there for hours working on a fence, picking out insulation. It's just wild to me, how many people gave their time and their talent. A lot of these people have just unbelievable talent in working with their hands and things that I can't even believe were accomplished in a few hours' time. So we're indebted to those folks for just coming out and showing their support. And we were told, time again, that people really appreciate having a facility of this size in our small town and what it does for our community. So, gosh, it was heartwarming and honestly surreal.
Well, you had a big vision, and you really put Jacksonville on the map for baseball, softball, what have you. over a wide area that cross state lines, no doubt about it. But so I know something like this. There's the emotional tsunami. The fact that you're an economic development figure, and again, there's been a lot of success in Jacksonville in its bicentennial year. With that economic development role by day, does that almost equate to like what we hear with first responders in the military? You kind of fall back on your training in a crisis situation when you're looking at numbers and recovery
Yes.
from something like this.
Absolutely. Well, this weekend, it's as I've mentioned, big tournament coming to town with about 50 teams, baseball and softball, and I think the easy way out would have said we're just not able to host that tournament, and gosh, that would have been terrible not only for the teams but also for our community that are depending on us to bring that sort of traffic to town, visitors and people spending money at hotels and gas stations and shops and restaurants. So we will probably not even break even this weekend, unfortunately, just given how the business plan goes and how things work with tournaments and if they can't be on our site. But we just felt it was really important to figure out how to accommodate these teams and how to bring these thousands of people to the Jacksonville area.
So are you able to plug into, let's see, looking at the diamonds there, I guess you can't use the one on, I guess that's JDC property, if I'm right. I'm trying to think of the diamonds coming to play.
Yeah.
College,
so
the old Mac diamond,
yep.
If it's still up.
We are going to use Illinois College baseball and softball. They've been wonderful to allow us to do that. JHS softball field, Route baseball and softball fields, the JAB fields, 2 or 3 of those are going to be used, and also the YMCA, 3 fields at the Y. So the combination of all of those will work for us, thankfully, and everybody's just been wonderful. When we asked, is there any way we can move our tournament to your complex, your area, they all, without a doubt, said yes. So now we are in the throes of figuring out how to staff that in a much different way. So we kind of have team leaders at each site and a number of staff there to help throughout that process. We're not used to dragging fields with our turf, so that's something we're going to be employing at all of these sites. And, it's just a different situation, but our staff is ready to take that on. And in fact, after the tornado hit, it was really heartwarming for Adam and myself to see the number of staff members that came out just to show their support and to read comments on social media about what it means for them to work at our complex, and maybe even some things we didn't know before. It's amazing how God works and how things might not, we might not know why things are happening, but gosh, the amount of support and collaboration after this event has been amazing.
Well, I'll wrap it up here quickly. I know when people are that passionate, it just says that the folks behind the venue, it's not just about the money. And I think that relationship, I have to think that's one of the more gratifying things, that it's, sometimes when you hear select teams and people start picturing the complex where someone says cha-ching, cha-ching. And this is clearly a place that was built because you love youth sports and giving them opportunities. And just watching these athletes grow. And I hear, I heard the mayor talk about, seeing people who played there in the College World Series. It's clearly a love affair for all parties involved.
I agree with you. We see these new sports complexes popping up all over, and they have a lot of backing behind them with investors and in many cases municipalities being a part of that. That is definitely not what, we are a small town ballpark with local owners, which we don't have the deep pockets that some of these sparkling new complexes have. And my husband and I have talked about that a lot, because as the shift in elite teams and those types of things change, we hope that people will remain committed to the local scene as well, and continue to visit us. And we're just going to continue to try to do the best we can as far as customer service, and really having more of that hometown feel when you visit us, versus maybe some of these really huge mega parks.
Well, my intel says they can't compete with your chicken wings.
That is true. We have some great chicken wings. We're really, the restaurant part of things was not ever on my bingo card, as people like to say. And honestly, that was a business decision as we looked at other parks and what they were able to offer, and why a team might decide to come to Jacksonville versus, a Bettendorf, Iowa, or somewhere much larger. And we knew that we needed something that, kept people busy, that entertained them. And so we took on the renovation of a large, it's an 11,000 square feet building that we were just using as storage at the time, to renovate it into a restaurant, bar, gaming for all ages. We have arcade games for the kids. We've got adult gaming room that's private. Just trying to figure out a way to keep people on the property and make sure that they're having a good experience. So it is climate controlled. People get overheated, or they're too cold, or it's raining. We now have respite for them, which we didn't have a few years ago. So it was a big gamble, a big risk, but that part of things is starting to come into its own, and the chicken wings, people do rave about them.
Boy, and like I said, I promise to get it wrapped up here, but it's like your healthy I-beams holding up the hotel industry. I mean, I know that's important, because not only for Jacksonville's economy, but I know down the road in Springfield with the 29, 30-story Wyndham out of commission, and the scrambling with the conventions this summer. That's going to be important, not only for Jacksonville, but the entire region, for you to prop up those hotels.
Yes, absolutely. We've got great relationships with our hotels in Jacksonville and South Jacksonville, and the Convention and Visitors Bureau director and I work really closely together to try to ensure that we're all on the same page. In fact, many of the property owners were calling Brittany immediately when they found out about the tornado, very, concerned what might happen. So we are partners in this for sure, and we appreciate what they do for us. A lot of times we might have teams come in and be scrambling for rooms at the last minute. They are great to accommodate us, and we think it's a great partnership.
So to close, I know the tough part, I guess the surfaces are okay. Lights, obviously volunteers can't come in and handle that. What's that process like? How difficult is the supply chain on, lighting, what have you? I mean, I realize it's ironic that it's almost like a paradox. I don't know what to call it, where we have all these diamonds sitting unused, and yet there's a boom in building complexes with a lot of diamonds.
Yeah, right. Well, we were very lucky, Sean, in that none of our lights were damaged. They are standing perfectly straight. So really the work we have to engage in rather quickly, fencing and netting, those are the two areas that really took a beating. Our turf looks pretty good. Field 1, which is our premier field where high school, college play most of the time, needs a little bit of definitely vacuuming, but also some tightening. Some areas did curl up on the edges from the tornado, but it was not ruined. So we have a turf specialist coming in to check that out. So really, I think we are at the mercy of that supply chain for netting, fencing, and getting the turf pulled together in Field 1. But honestly, fields 2 and 3 are in perfect shape. So we do have some playable fields immediately. And it's just figuring out, we did lose a few dugouts. So we might have to think creatively about makeshift dugouts until we can get a couple of those built. But honestly, what we saw when the aftermath of the tornado was heartbreaking. And then when we left yesterday, the sun was shining on the complex, and it looked like a different place within 24 hours. So we're really taking that as our positive vibe of the day. We're going to keep moving forward. And our hope is that we can at least open the restaurant this weekend. So while we won't be playing on our fields, we hope to have a place where people can get out of the air conditioning. It's going to be warm, and come in and sit down and relax between games. We know people are going to come by and check it out anyway. So we might as well have a cold drink and some of those wings ready for them.
Well, between the great vision you had to keep moving this complex forward and everything going on in Jacksonville in this bicentennial year, and having a lot more success on the retail front than so many other communities. I mean, I thought Shopko was going to. I thought that was going to sit empty till the end of time. I can imagine you're running on fumes right now.
Oh, yeah. When I took on my role with the Jacksonville Regional Economic Development Corporation, the former Shopco and the former AC Humco were the two questions I received most often. What are we going to do? And I would say Jacksonville Developmental Center would be right in that top three. So to see Shopco being redeveloped, former AC Humco, of course, is being redeveloped as a craft grow facility. And then movement this year on remediation of Jacksonville Developmental Center. Like, wow, this is a great time for Jacksonville. We've got a lot of momentum and people in our corner. We have developers, wanting to invest in this region. And again, we're a small community, but clearly people notice when things are clicking. And I just think we have the right recipe of the small town feel but big city amenities.
Kristen Jameson, thanks again. I'm sorry I took up so much of your time, but all the best to you. And it's hard for those who haven't seen the pictures on the Journal Courier website. It's about as moving as it gets.
Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate your time, and all the wings are on me when you're in Jacksonville next time. How about that?
It's a deal.